for those of you who are stout listeners who listen and know that I usually post at 5:15 every Monday morning, you will notice that it is currently like 10 o'clock in the morning, Mountain Standard Time, and that would be because, I forgot. That's as simple as it is. So we're going to do it today real quick, and today's nap time devotional is a little less devotional and more like spiritual thought. There are basically two things that I want to talk about, and one comes directly from the Come Follow Me. It was one of the things that when I was reading through just really stood out to me, and then the other one is one of the Psalms that I want to talk about. So this is the part that from Come Follow Me that I really loved. This is talking about the writers of Psalms, because it's a compilation of poems by a bunch of different people. They understood that having faith in the Lord doesn't mean that you'll never struggle with anxiety, sin, or fear. It means you know who to turn to when you do, right? And that kind of comes back to our title of this particular section of scriptures in Come Follow Me. I will declare what he hath done for my soul. And there is a scripture, I want to say it's in Doctrine and Covenants, that talks about how everything that happens is for the good of me, right? Like that everything, even though it feels awful, it feels terrible, it's not comfortable, and we're like, why are we going through this? Everything is for our good. I want to say that's in Doctrine and Covenants. I could be wrong. But I feel like that's kind of what this little blip from the Come Follow Me is talking about, is that I think sometimes the world would have us believe, and we've kind of talked about this before, that if we follow God, if we believe in God, if we do everything he asks, then our lives are supposed to be hunky-dory and super easy. And then when they're not, we're like, well, obviously he's not real. But that's not the case. What it is that you believe in God and you follow God and you do everything that he asks you to do, and life is not hunky-dory, and you know how to get through it. You know that you have resources and tools of prayer, of scripture, of revelation, to make it through these super not fun things. And then you're able to see God's hand in our trials and see how he is shaping us to become better. And then the last thing that I wanted to talk about was, again, this is one of the Psalms. It's 62, verse 2. He only is my rock and my salvation. He is my defense. I shall not be greatly moved. And I like that they use the word greatly here, because we will be moved. We will be moved a little bit. We might scoochie a little bit this way and that way, because we're human beings and we're not completely steadfast and perfect 100% of the time. But if we are not greatly moved, right? If we're standing on the path and we veer a little bit each time, right? We veer a little bit off and then we veer ourselves back on, veer a little bit off and we veer ourselves back on. As long as we are not greatly moved, we don't go all the way off out into the wilderness, we're going to be okay. And the other thing is, even if you are greatly moved, right? Even if you are greatly moved and you end up wandering in the wilderness, there is always a path back. And though Satan would have you believe that once you're off in the wilderness, you are lost. Like, the end, game over. Like, God's like, I don't even know who that person is anymore, right? But as long as you're here, you can keep moving back to the path. It doesn't matter how far off you went. But I just like the idea of greatly moved. I shall not be greatly moved, because it does imply that we will be moved a little bit due to our human nature. Anyway, that is that, and I will talk to you guys next week.